Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well informed. Right now, look, a lot of small businesses are feeling it, aren't they? That natural instinct to pull back. Cut costs, play it safe, just try and ride things out. But our source material today, Smart Website Strategies That Actually Drive Growth by Cecilia Johnson, it really pushes back on that. It makes this compelling case that playing it small online, well, it can quietly cost you the trust and attention you've worked so hard to earn. And your website, it's just not a digital business card these days, is it? Especially now, it's acting as your storefront, it's your chief spokesperson, your tireless service desk, and maybe your best sales rep, all rolled into one. When times get tight, it's tempting to just let it sit there, stagnate. But Cecilia Johnson's work, it suggests the real opportunity is actually to make it work harder for you, smarter. So our mission in this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to pull out the most pragmatic, the highest return website strategies from Johnson's insights. We're looking for those specific moves that don't just help you tread water, but actually drive real growth and keep your customers happy, especially when the economic waters feel a bit choppy.
Exactly. And it's really crucial, like Johnson emphasizes, that these aren't about, flashy redesigns or these huge full stack rebuilds. We're talking about strategic, pragmatic moves with big returns built to meet the moment. It's all about leveraging what you've already got and sort of optimizing it for the biggest impact without needing a massive budget.
Okay, so let's dig into that. Strategy number one from Johnson's work. Website speed. We all kind of know fast is good, but how much does a slow website really cost a business? Especially now, what's the actual bottom line impact?
Oh, it's absolutely foundational. There's a really direct line between your site's load speed and your revenue. It's that simple. Johnson points out, look, if your homepage lags or maybe your checkout flow hiccups, even slightly, people don't just get annoyed, they bounce fast.
Right.
And the big problem is they don't always come back. This isn't just like a feeling. Industry analysis backs this up. Faster page loads, reduce bounce rates, and measurably increase user engagement, particularly for mobile visitors.
Mobile key.
Right. Definitely. So for a small business in a downturn, where honestly every single visitor counts, and getting that conversion is just harder, your site speed becomes this silent killer. It's a make-or-break factor for your bottom line, losing even a few potential customers just because the page took too long. That hits your daily, your weekly, your monthly revenue hard.
Okay, so if speed is truly non-negotiable, what are some immediate, actionable things our listeners can actually do, based on Johnson's insights?
Yeah, the guidance is clear and it's practical stuff. You should prioritize compressing images, trimming scripts, and using a content delivery network.
Okay, break those down a bit.
Sure. Compressing images just means they load faster without looking terrible. You shrink the file size. Trimming scripts, that means getting rid of unnecessary code that just slows down the browser. Code it doesn't actually need to load that page.
Right.
And a CDN, a content delivery network, basically stores copies of your site closer to your users around the world so it gets to them faster. Johnson really stresses that shaving even a second off your load time can make a difference.
Wow, just 1 second.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder. Small tweaks here give you pretty significant results in keeping people around and getting them to convert.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. Moving from site performance to something, maybe less technical on the surface, but arguably even more fundamental, trust and security. The source argues this isn't just for the IT folks anymore, right? How has this whole perception of digital safety changed?
That's such a crucial point Johnson makes. She puts it really clearly. During uncertain times, digital safety isn't just an IT issue. It's a trust issue.
The trust issue. Okay.
Yeah. When money's tight or things feel uncertain, customers just naturally get more cautious.
Yeah.
Especially with their personal info, their financial details. They're looking much more closely at who they decide to do business with. And at the same time, let's be honest, small businesses are often prime targets for things like phishing, fraud, data leaks.
Because they maybe don't have the same resources?
Exactly. They often have fewer resources for that really advanced security. So if a customer even starts to worry about their data on your site, they just won't engage. And it completely undermines the relationship you're trying to build.
So if it's become this critical trust thing, what's the practical fix? What does the article suggest to kind of shore up that resilience?
Well, the answer really lies in being proactive with education. Johnson suggests investing in cybersecurity education, specifically by upskilling your own team. She actually mentions looking into cybersecurity training through online universities, which tailor programs for real-world application.
So training the team you have.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it's not about, chasing certificates just to have them. The article clarifies that. It's really about empowering your people to spot threats, to mitigate risks, basically tightening the weakest links in your digital presence.
Hmm.
When your team knows what to look for, they become this really vital human line of defense. They're proactively protecting the business and, just as importantly, your customers' data and their trust.
Okay, so moving from security now towards connection. Cecilia Johnson makes this really interesting point about case studies, how those generic ones, you know the type, they just won't cut it anymore. We see them everywhere. Vague stuff about satisfied clients and abstract solutions. What's really missing there, especially right now?
Yeah, what's missing is, it's relatability
Mm.
and specifics. Johnson argues pretty strongly that if your site is still talking about clients and solutions in these really abstract ways, you're leaving a ton of credibility just sitting on the table.
Right.
People don't connect with abstracts. They connect with stories they can actually see themselves in. They need to see someone like them, someone who had the same problem, maybe similar stakes, who found real relief, real success because of you. This is where that idea of small business case study storytelling really shines. It needs that clear story arc, a recognizable struggle, and then a specific, tangible result. And the focus, it should be less on just how big the win was and more on the transformation itself, how things change for that person or that business.
Can you give us a really concrete example of that? Something that makes that transformation idea stick?
Oh, absolutely. Johnson uses a great comparison. Think about this. We were overwhelmed with invoicing. Now it's handled in 2 clicks.
Okay, yeah, I can picture that.
Right. It paints this vivid picture, relatable pain, elegant solution, clear change, versus something like client X increased productivity.
Which means almost nothing, really.
Exactly. It's generic, totally lacks any emotional punch. So the article advises framing these stories visually, maybe leading with a really strong quote that captures the essence. And importantly, let the tension live for a moment before the payoff.
Hmm.
Build that narrative. It draws the reader in, lets them feel that before state, and then really desire the after state that your business helps them achieve.
Okay, this leads nicely into another point about all those tiny little details on a website, things we might easily overlook. Johnson's work suggests trust actually lives in that small stuff, these subtle signals. What are some of these microtrust indicators, things that are easy to miss but really matter?
That's such a fascinating concept. Johnson points out you don't have to shout, "Trust us." In fact, she kind of suggests you probably shouldn't. Instead, visitors are deciding whether to trust you based on dozens, literally dozens, of subtle signals they often can't even consciously name.
Like what, for instance?
Well, she gives examples like, where is your phone number placed? Is it prominent? How clear and easy is it to find your return policy? Or even just, are there pictures of real people, human faces in your imagery? Or is it all generic stock photo?
Okay.
One agency, Johnson mentions, actually calls these things subtle reputation cues that build trust, or microtrust indicators.
Mm.
And the really critical part, they work best when layered. It's not just one thing. It's many small signals adding up to create this overall feeling of trustworthiness.
And that layering idea feels especially relevant right now. How does the source connect these subtle cues, these micro indicators, to how consumers are behaving in this economy?
Well, during a downturn, or just times of uncertainty, buyers naturally slow down, right? They ask more questions. And they stress more about making the wrong choice, about potential buyers' regret.
Definitely.
So that heightened caution makes those little micro-trust indicators even more important. Johnson basically advises you to audit your site for friction points. Actively look for them. Ask yourself those hard questions like, is it totally clear what happens after someone clicks buy? Or does your website footer look like someone actually thought it through? Or is it just this dumping ground for broken links and old info?
Guilty as charged sometimes, I think.
We all are. But these aren't just, cosmetic choices. They signal professionalism, care, attention to detail. And Johnson's conclusion on this is really powerful. These are not details. They are decisions that compound. Every small decision either builds that trust or chips away at it, especially when visitors are already feeling cautious and looking for reasons to hesitate.
Okay, so we often hear the advice, create more content. More. But Cecilia Johnson's work seems to challenge that, arguing we don't always need more, but we need our best stuff to work harder. What does that actually mean, practically? And why now?
Yeah, it's a really smart shift, I think. Instead of just churning out new stuff constantly, Johnson advises finding those pages, those articles, those resources on your site that already get traffic. or maybe they used to get good traffic, and then updating them to answer today's questions. The key word there is today's.
Relevance.
Exactly. Relevance is everything. In a climate where your customers are feeling risk-averse, they're looking for immediate value. So that blog post you wrote 3 years ago about general growth strategies, it might just fall flat now, unless you refresh it to specifically talk about, say, lean budgets or customer retention or the urgency of the challenges they're facing right now. Johnson's research often shows that updating existing high performers can actually bring in way more traffic and leads than creating totally new articles from scratch.
Really? More than new.
Often, yes, because you're leveraging an asset that already has some authority, some history. You're essentially making your past investments work harder and smarter for you today.
So, beyond just deciding what to update, what are the actual steps? What does doing a content refresh look like?
Well, the actions themselves are pretty straightforward, but they can have a big impact. It could be something as simple as updating a headline to be more current or compelling, or maybe rewriting a key section to reflect new realities, or adding a new example that really resonates with current concerns.
Okay.
Johnson reminds us, Google rewards recency and readers reward relevance. It's a double win. So updating content tells search engines it's fresh and valuable, and it tells your readers you understand their current world, their present needs. The article uses a great phrase, don't let old ideas rot in your archive.
I like that.
Yeah, they still have value, potentially huge value, if you just bring them up to date and make them relevant again.
All right, this next strategy, I think this is brilliant because it tackles what we don't know. The things visitors aren't telling us. How do we actually catch those quiet gaps in the website experience? Those unspoken hesitations before they just turn into lost sales.
That is such a critical challenge, isn't it? Because most of the ways we try to get feedback online, as Johnson puts it, they're often too little too late.
Like what? Like contact forms?
Yeah, or just a basic newsletter sign up, maybe a support chatbot that pops up. None of those really tell you why someone hesitated on your pricing page and then left, or what specific question or doubt kept them from booking that demo call. These methods usually gather info after the decision's mostly made, or even after the user's already gone.
So you've already lost them.
Exactly. You've lost the chance to address their concern in the moment. They fail completely to uncover those quiet gaps, those invisible points of friction that are silently killing your conversions.
So what's the better way? What's the more effective, proactive method the article suggests for getting that real-time insight?
The solution proposed is to trigger on-page surveys wisely and lightly.
Wisely and lightly. Okay, what does that mean?
It means you have to be smart about it,
Hmm.
precise, and respectful of the user's time and experience. This is not about blasting people with annoying pop-ups every 5 seconds.
Right.
It's about keeping it super simple. One question. That's it. Timing it well, maybe when someone shows intent to leave a specific page. Keeping it totally optional, and crucially, don't beg for answers. Make it easy to ignore if they want to.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine on your main service stage, just as someone's mouse moves towards the back button, a small, unobtrusive prompt appears asking something like, was anything missing from this page?
Mm-hmm.
That one question can surface objections or missing information you literally had no idea about. It's not about asking if they like the page. It's about finding out what friction stopped them. And in a slow market, Johnson's warning is stark. Invisible friction is fatal.
Hmm.
Understanding these quiet gaps, it can genuinely be the difference between losing a lead and gaining a loyal customer.
Okay, finally, let's bring it back to testimonials. Social proof. So many of us, myself included probably, treat them like salt and pepper. You sprinkle them here and there, or maybe you stick them all on one dedicated testimonials page that, let's be honest, hardly anyone ever clicks on. Cecilia Johnson's work suggests a very different tactic.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It challenges that common practice head on. Johnson argues that most sites basically banish testimonials to their own lonely page, treating them like an afterthought, like you said. But the advice is to do the opposite. Take a far more strategic approach. Display testimonials on the homepage, service pages, and anywhere hesitation lives.
Anywhere hesitation lives. I like that phrasing.
Yeah, the goal is to put that powerful social proof directly in the path of someone who might be thinking, should I really do this?
Mm.
You want to proactively address their potential doubts using the authentic words of happy customers who've already benefited. Don't make people hunt for the proofs. Put it right where the decisions are being made.
And beyond just putting them in the right place, any tips from the source on making those testimonials punchier, more impactful, really showing that transformation we talked about?
Yes, several really good practical tips.
Yeah.
First, obvious but important. Use real names if you have permission. That adds so much credibility right away.
Makes sense.
Second, try to anchor the quote in a specific moment or a tangible outcome. Like the example, "We switched in May and haven't missed a deadline since." That's way stronger than just, "They're great."
Right, specificity again.
Exactly. Third, and this is really key, don't just focus on the glowing praise. Actively look for phrasing that reflects the before state.
Mm.
What was life like before they used your product or service? That contrast, that journey from the problem to your solution, that's what makes the testimonial really stick. It creates
The
resonance.
before and after effect.
It's precisely. And Johnson gives this fantastic tip. She calls it gold. If your customer says something kind of offhand, maybe even slightly informal, like, "It's the first software we didn't have to fight with," that's gold. Quote it exactly.
Don't pretty it up.
Don't touch it. Those authentic, maybe slightly imperfect phrases, they resonate so powerfully because they sound real. They feel relatable, not like marketing speak.
Wow, okay. What an insightful deep dive into these strategies from Cecilia Johnson. It really feels like these aren't about, adding flashy features or needing huge budgets or complicated tech. They sound much more like fundamental confidence builders, things that contribute to stability and ultimately customer satisfaction.
That's exactly it. I think the core message running through all this is that economic pressure exposes every weakness, but, and this is the important part, it also reveals leverage. And it's the kind of leverage that doesn't necessarily demand massive investment. We're talking about making your site a bit faster, telling your story a bit clearer, putting a powerful testimonial right where it counts.
Small hinges, big doors.
Exactly. These aren't superficial things. When you do them well, each one earns its place in a visitor's memory. And critically, it nudges your business that little bit closer towards stability and genuine customer satisfaction. They build trust and show real value, especially in moments when customers are being extra careful.
And, as Cecilia Johnson ultimately concludes in her work, if you just consistently keep showing up online with clarity, with care, the growth really does tend to follow. It feels like a really powerful message of, well, perseverance, but also smart strategic action, especially for right now. So we really hope this deep dive encourages you, our listeners, to maybe take a fresh look at your own digital presence through these specific lenses we've discussed. And as you think about all this, maybe consider this final thought. Which specific invisible friction point or quiet gap might be silently costing your business right now? And how could just one small pragmatic change based on these ideas make a really significant difference in your online growth?